Charging the Tesla on solar has been a goal for a long time. It's been achieved, and I've been doing it for a long time. But it's vastly improved with the latest Tesla custom integration, allowing charge current to be adjusted as a function of solar production. This is a huge improvement. Take a look at this chart here. This is data exported from Home Assistant to Google Sheets. And I was able to track solar production and charge current over the course of one day. Kind of gives you an idea how it works. The blue is solar production, and the red is charge current. So you can see through the day that as solar energy becomes available, the power is higher. We can adjust the charge current automatically, and at the peak of the day, we have the most charge current available, depends on your system, and diminishes toward the end of the day and shuts itself off automatically. So very little energy is returned to the grid. Most of it goes to the car if the state of charge is such that it can accept it. I would much rather send it to the car than the grid because the return is much higher used locally. So let's see how we do that. Here's my Tesla screen. Currently at 77%, 2.2 kilowatts available with 20% cloud coverage. Not too bad. And it's currently charging at 8 amps. You can see all the other parameters available here. We won't go through that because we're talking about charging. So let's go to settings, automations, and I've got two automations that turn charging on and off respectively. Those haven't really changed much from the previous videos, so I'm just going to go to the one that controls the charge current. Charging amps proportional to solar. So we need a trigger, and only one trigger is necessary, really. A state change when current power production changes by any amount, we have a trigger. There are two conditions. The car has to be home. I don't want this controlling anything while I'm at a supercharger. So the car has to be home in order to adjust this. Oh, see, it just got triggered. Okay. Confirm that we're charging currently, because there's no reason to go on any further if it's not charging. And then we're going to have an action. And this is where we've got if, then, else statements. If current power production is above 2.1 kilowatts, then we set this value for charging amps. And I'm going to set it at 8. That means that the house is going to be the primary consumer of solar, but the remainder, the surplus, goes on to the car. If that condition is satisfied, it goes straight to adjusting the charge current. But if it isn't, we have an else. And now we have a bracket. If the production is greater than 1.9 kilowatts and less than 2.1, then set the value to 7. So this will change for individual systems. Some have greater power available than others. One way to look at this is to click the traces, and we find that we start with a trigger. We've got a series of if, then, else statements, which one is active, and the YAML code associated with that. So if the first condition is satisfied, the first if is satisfied, it goes straight to adjusting that and stops. If it doesn't, it tests all the other if, then, else statements until it finds one that has been satisfied. And that is all there is to it. Let me go back to Tesla Charge On. To have a trigger, we need at least 500 watts, half a kilowatt. And when the current action of my ecobee thermostat changes from cooling, we also have a trigger. and the car has to be plugged into a charger. So there's a number of conditions that have to be met. Make sure that it's in the home zone, for instance, and because I don't want this triggering at a supercharger. No control unless it's at home. I also control only Monday through Friday because it doesn't really matter to me on the weekend. I'll set that manually. We're at off-peak rates on the weekends, so I can charge at 12 cents a kilowatt hour rather than 22. This is most important Monday through Friday, but it also applies to the weekends. I'm just restricting this automation to weekdays. And then we have a default value for charging amps, which is minimum 1. But that doesn't really matter because I've got a separate integration or a second automation, for controlling the charge current, which will take over as soon as solar production changes by any amount. And that is it. What I've found as an aside here is that some have asked for blueprints and things. I haven't done that. Frankly, I just haven't had time for it. But what I can do is if you send me an email, I can send you my automations.yaml. And what I found is that with a new installation or instance of Home Assistant, I simply copy the automations.yaml file over, put it in the config folder, and it works just fine. Experiment with this. You're going to love it. Yeah, and you probably will find new things to control in your car because this list is very long. Turn the heated seats on and off. Get data that you previously could not get. There's a great deal of things in this list, and I've removed a few of them just to make it more manageable. So there you have it. You can now adjust charge current based on solar production.